She's getting the copy. Here's Mark.
There he is. How you doing there?
Hey, how are you?
We figured you'd be in someplace warm.
I should be.
Hey,
Hey, Dana.
stop walking
I'm
like
here to
that.
help you.
You look like my wife.
I'm not, so just leave me alone.
No.
What are you doing with the
same
cane,
thing.
Mark?
My back.
Oh, your back?
Did some damage to my SI joint. It's getting better.
You made, there it is. Some sort of slips.
So, Lee,
Yep,
Good to see you. Good to
that
see
says
you.
Mark.
Ah, thank you.
Are you asking about?
Yeah, I think we are.
Yeah.
So the whole building wasn't done when we did that last renovation.
That's what happened.
Hi, Jean. How are you, dear? Good.
Now with
I'm
a
on.
big school, so I
Yeah.
don't,
I'm on.
I don't, we don't,
Yeah, well,
Going on, brother?
what's he doing?
Good.
Richie, on the Lover's Lane, when they redid it, they didn't do the whole roof of the whole building.
No. But, I've got a answer that it's kind of fenced. And when the wind blows, it blows the snow in. And
I
then
believe that.
maybe they should fix it.
You don't wanna take them apart?
That wooden floor, it's
Staple
water.
if you want.
Thing about school, though, the first year you got to
I
go in,
gave
you
you,
got a big,
finance
it was a
committee,
big
the
hole
Board of Health.
in those buildings.
That's because it was on the
Seems
other
like we could
side
have
of
room.
it. That's what I pulled it out of the book, yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
No, she just printed them out so we have it.
She just wants to make sure that if there's any changes made on it, we get the newest one. So,
Is there been a change over the
I
one we
don't
got?
think so.
Yeah, I didn't give you the Board of Health one.
No, but is there, on the one we got in our book, has there been a change?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
No,
No. We're all set?
Yep.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Do we have a motion on the minutes?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of Wednesday, January 10th. Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then I guess you're on. One question I had was, is there anything expected different?
Nothing's
Next year.
expected different, so this all looks fine to me the way it is.
Okay.
I guess we can go with that and would be good.
I have a question on whether what the landfill expenses consist of?
Yeah, what about it?
What are they?
What are they? That's for Mark Popham, our engineer.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many hours does he work?
It's
Or is
different.
Just the contract?
It's
He's a
just
consultant,
Consultant?
revolving.
called as needed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So last year, we budgeted 10,000, like we're going to do this year. But, excuse me, 17. But you only used 2,200, so that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if, you know,
Right, but you don't know if,
you don't know if something
Yeah.
comes up.
exactly.
You need
Okay.
something there.
Yeah, good.
But, I mean, you know, and it's fine that we cut that down, at least something's there if we need it. and,
Yeah.
You know, just like he'll be coming to our next meeting anyways, and
Yeah.
with an update on the landfill stuff and things that,
And if you don't use it, it just rolls back
Yeah, it just rolls back.
Yeah,
That's free cash.
Yeah,
yeah, no, that's good,
good.
great.
The, Board of Health Administrative Assistant, I see her pay increased according to this by 1.94%. Is that due to a 2% COLA raise last year?
I believe she had a step increase last year.
Yeah, I was just wondering why it went up again this year.
Well, each budget as presented included a 2% COLA.
You're requesting a 2% COLA,
Correct.
and they got a 2% COLA last year, correct?
Affirmative, yes.
But that's something that can be left
Yeah,
to the end, if we needed to take it out.
If we have the money to.
We've never put it in before.
I just decided to start the budgeting process by giving the 2% COLA.
You know, one of the things too that I was looking over the figures and figures that haven't changed in many, many years is the stipends we're paying out to some of our employees. You know, they've been the same for 15 years. You know, and those stipends don't change with a 2% COLA. I think that if we have any kind of available funds, after we work through this budget,
Aren't the stipends, I've been trying to get a schedule of the stipends. I've never seen them.
but if you go back and look, Claire, they have been the same
Yeah,
forever
but
and
if,
ever.
isn't that based on how many years you work?
Yeah, but they're in the budgets. If somebody's, you're talking about longevity stipend.
Okay.
Richie's talking about
Stipends for
like
Oh,
other
okay,
stipends.
okay,
like
I was
animal
talking,
inspector,
Mhm.
a selectman,
You're talking about boards, committees, position
right,
stipends,
that
not
Okay.
don't
Okay.
go on
Yeah.
longevity, because most of them are elected or appointed. You know, those people have served, some of them for long periods of time. And how long you been on the Board of Health, Dave?
18 years.
And how long have you guys been getting your,
We've just started getting that.
I think we upped it like 5-6 years ago.
I don't even think it's been that long.
Yeah, I
It
remember
used-
when we increased it though.
Used to be 150 a year,
yeah,
and finally got it up to that.
yeah.
What was the original theory behind a stipend?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the time, these people, finance committee's exempt from this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think finance committee can't receive a
No.
financial statement,
Right.
but
I'm not looking
the
for
other
that, need to
committees,
make
I
that
think
clear.
get,
See,
yeah, I think like the assessors, I think the different boards is what they're doing as a role.
Yeah.
You know, so they may not just attend meetings.
see, I don't
You know,
just
they could
attend
be out
meetings.
doing different things.
Well, but what I wonder is, as the basic salaries go up and inflation goes up, if there was a theory behind a percent of something to start out with, we could judge,
Right.
but
you
apparently
don't
there
get-
isn't.
You're not on the payroll.
No.
No, I
Yes
get
and
a-
no, the stipends go through the payroll process. 'cause
Yeah,
it's a
but
check,
they're not
They're not
an
employees.
hourly.
No, I spend a lot of time going out and doing inspections.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
you know, I don't get paid no money
Yeah.
for it, I don't get fuel, I get nothing.
yeah,
So that's where the stipend kind of
That's
comes
where
in.
the stipends comes in.
yeah. Well, that's what I thought. It's,
How come you don't get paid? I don't understand. Don't, aren't you in the
Because
payroll?
they figure it's double dipping if I get paid for my time.
Yeah, I see.
It's
So,
an epic thing.
Which is maybe-
you know, I do it from the good of my heart and for the town, and that's fine. It's not a thing I'm into to make money and get rich.
Right. I don't think anybody that gets a stipend is in it to get
Yeah.
rich, no.
Right.
And I work with
Maybe is the
people,
reason we don't need to increase it that much. I mean, not annually,
but, you
maybe
know,
once in a while.
I work well with people and things go good.
I just wanted to throw that out there, that it was something that we could keep in the back of our minds. come
That's a
towards
good
the
point.
end of this budget cycle, and if there was any possible way to, you know, because I know the Board of Selectmen, I think theirs is $700.
I believe so.
That's been like that for many,
Last
many,
year-
many
Last
years.
year, we're not even taking it. We're taking it
That's
right
not
off
the
budget.
point that I'm trying to make
Yeah,
though,
the prior
Matt.
board never did either.
We didn't take it neither, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm just saying that you have
No,
to,
the reason it was done is because we didn't have the money, not because we didn't want the money. I'm just bringing that up. The reason we declined it is because we didn't have it in the money in the budget, and we agreed we could do it without the money. without the stipend, so we took it out of the budget process.
We didn't have $2,100 last year?
Last year, up until what, the week before, we didn't have money for the COLA, for the rest of the workers to get their raise. So yeah, we didn't have the money last year.
Could you get a longevity stipend? There must be some kind of,
Yep.
Well, that's, I
on what it is.
believe our personnel policy has, you mean, can you
I've
get a
never
longevity
seen it.
stipend
For an elected
for
position?
elected positions?
No, I'm asking for a schedule of the longevity stipends.
I don't understand what you're asking. You're asking for a list of who gets them?
No, I
No.
wanna know the levels.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
Step
only
one,
two
step
levels.
two.
After, I think it's in the personnel book, I'll look it up while we're here tonight, but
Yeah.
there's two,
Yeah.
it's 150 or 300,
I've
that's
never
it.
seen it.
It's in the personnel
Or what
book.
it is,
Mhm.
so
Personnel
I
handbook.
just wondered what.
25
figured.
years, I believe.
It's gotta be more than 5. It
No,
goes
25.
25?
And there's one.
Does it go up
there's
like
a-
every 5 years?
That's $300 for a full-time employee, and then they enacted a few years back, part-timers, I think, got half. Like, I think that started out with the police department, some of the part-time officers that have been there a long time, I think they get 150 if they're not full-time.
That's what I wanted to,
Because if you
Yeah,
look
'cause I've
at
never
the,
seen
if
it.
I remember correctly, Faye, excuse me, Claire, the scheduling on like the vacations, you know, if you
Mhm.
get like 2 weeks after a year or something, then after 5 years, that goes up, and then 15 years, it goes up again, and then the 20th year, I don't think it goes up to, a vacation week, I think it goes to the stipend. And then after 25 years, then you get the 5th week vacation, if I remember it correctly.
yeah.
That was just something I just wanted to throw out.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
Yep.
Thanks, Dana.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, Dana, nice to see you.
Yes, sir.
We have Tony that will buy.
I think it was Tony.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Tony.
Thank you.
That's my budget.
What budget?
Okay, good, thanks.
I did glance at it.
I'm surprised I never saw her.
That's pretty much. How does it look for
Fine,
this year?
It's fine. Things are going right along, and I keep getting veterans in the office, so you guys are not, you know, I don't know if I'll use up the whole budget, but, I'm trying to keep control of it, but, you know, when you got veterans that need some benefits, you try and get them put through.
Is the status still the same as it has been, Tony, about the reimbursement, how it's like a year behind?
75%, yep, it's a year behind,
A year behind.
and things have been going well in that department.
Good.
Yes.
And you can just ask, Jean, because she gets to see that coming through.
Mhm.
They keep changing, they don't change rules, they just make things a little more stringent, so it just takes a little longer to get things processed, but once you get established, then they bring in a new authorizer, so you know, you gotta go through it all over again.
Yep. Couple more hoops.
Yep, so.
Is that state reimbursement or feds?
State.
I thought it was 20,
Yeah.
just wasn't sure.
Yes. Because what they have to do is when you take the money, or when you go for reimbursement, they've got to fund it. And so they come in with a budget and they get the funding for it, so then they can bring it back around.
Yeah, we did just receive today the FY19 local aid estimates, which shows a reimbursement of the veterans' benefits at $59,119 for FY19, which would be the reimbursement on 17th.
Yes.
Having, you still working with the veterans, trying to get them lined up with the VA and get their benefits?
Always, always, yeah. That's one of our main goals, is to align them with the VA and trying to get them either into the VA for medical assistance or get them rated for disabilities, so that the more that they can get outside of the town, the less it costs the town.
Right.
And I gave Andrew a line item that we just got. It's like a sheet that shows you how much is coming back into the town through the VA, through benefits and pensions, and I think it was about $104,000 is coming back, being able to be spent into the town.
Right, right. That's
Which,
yeah.
I was looking at some of the other towns, and I think we've done well. You know, I'm not saying I'm the one that did it. It's just that the people were able to get involved with the VA and get a rating and be able to get some sort of help from them. And the good thing about it, they don't always have to depend on me to try and jump through the hoops to get them into a compensation or a pension. There's other organizations out there that'll work with, they can work with the American Legion, Disabled Veterans America, and a few others, which makes it a little easier on me, because then I can concentrate on the people right here. But the results that we've had, we've been doing some extensive training in the last couple of years on processing VA claims, as they call it. A fully developed claim takes you probably a month to do, and that's getting all the paperwork in place. And it really helps if it's done well, because you'll get a results. You'll get a letter from them within a month saying they've got it, and then within 6 months you might have a rating, unless there's other complications. But 90% of them fast track and get a rating within 6 months.
Probably for a government, that's good.
Good job, Tony.
Hey, great.
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
We all set here?
Yep.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions?
No,
Just
sounds
keep
good.
doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you for it.
Just you're getting old, you're gonna retire soon.
He's just a kid.
Hang on, Tony, don't retire. You don't know how old I
We're not gonna let you leave that.
Doesn't have any gray hair. We're not gonna be old. Gee, welcome. Oh, no.
You get in trouble,
Okay.
Does that have a knife in it?
you wouldn't believe what's in it.
Or a
Don't
gun?
ask questions.
First question, how are things working out this year?
Good.
Good? You happy?
Yeah.
Happier?
Happier, yeah, happier.
How's your assistant working out?
What?
Yeah? Making a
Good.
difference for you?
Yeah, good time.
That's good.
That's great to hear.
I see that it's getting increased. Is that increase in hours or hourly rate?
No,
That's a
it's
2% COLA.
2%.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Gene, when are we up for audit again, do you know?
Now,
You're in the,
well, we're sending them stuff, they thought the end of January, but I don't think they're gonna make that.
Yeah, I've been pushing them to ask them to start the process, but haven't heard a firm date of when they're gonna be on
Yeah.
site yet.
I've been sending them the stuff
yeah,
onto the portal, so
good,
they'll be ready to go when they're ready to go.
all right. How'd it go last year? It went.
It's closed, we're waiting for a Department of Revenue, so
Well, I know,
we're
I know.
done.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's done.
Good.
Do you see any need in the future or now to increase your assistance hours, Gene?
Not right
No,
now, no, we're just working out really well right now.
that's good.
Yeah,
It's good to
7
hear.
hours, so it's good, yeah, been really good,
That's good to hear.
Any
So
other,
that was money well spent.
yes.
any other
Absolutely.
expense items, Gene, that you can think of?
No,
No?
no, I know it's level funded, I know it's level funded
Yeah,
too.
right, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no,
How about software wise? Everybody happy with software?
I'm happy with my software.
And it is different than other people's or
Well, then here, yeah, but,
in here?
Yeah,
yeah, but I have the same software in Petersham, so,
Okay.
yeah, so, no, I'm perfectly happy with it.
That's working out good.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Happy to hear that.
That's good.
yeah.
Sounds good.
What were you nervous about?
Yeah, keep up the good work.
Yeah, really.
You just keep doing what you're doing.
It's coming. He'll
Keep
come
us
out
on track.
comfortable.
I'm trying.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Any other questions?
Nope, sounds good.
All set.
Thank you, Gene.
Okay,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
yep.
Thanks, Gene.
Thanks,
Thank
yeah.
you, Gene.
You can if you want.
We're doing-
I didn't schedule the finance to come in,
We're
but.
getting us a 10% increase this year.
Really?
How much?
Across the board.
10? Oh,
Across the
that's
board,
good.
every community.
10% of nothing, nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anything times 0 is 0.
Since you printed them.
Yeah. Do you guys have any,
Yeah.
do you wanna talk about your budget? It's a hefty one, so.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
That's thick.
yeah.
That could make a difference in evaluation.
So you're planning on putting a lot less hours in this?
Well, it looks that way.
Well, the town is lucky that I, you know,
Yeah.
am able to do work whenever I'm here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I happen to leave, then you'd need that budget for whoever
Right.
came in. But
Okay.
at this time, it's barely used. Only the meetings I put in for on that budget,
Mm.
that's it.
Same thing, Fred, do you see any increase in expenses?
I don't. The only thing we really pay out of that is the booklets for
Right.
town meeting
Yeah.
and, the nameplates that we order for town meeting.
Um,
Yeah.
And other than that, I don't think there's anything
Yeah.
that we really purchase out of that. We used to buy like laptops and stuff, but like again, at this time, I have a Surface that I use for my job, so there's no need for any of that, equipment.
Good.
But, you know, if you had somebody else come in, it may be a different scenario, but.
Now that Stephanie resigned, is the town website or something, put something out, someone else wanted to join? Someone else wanted to
Yeah, we can
join?
make a post on Facebook. Actually, I'll do that right now.
You may be getting a call from Scott.
Okay, yeah, he would
'Cause
have to
he
call
would
Paul
drop-
Cranston.
Yeah, he dropped off the fire.
Oh, he
has-
did?
He's going to,
We haven't gotten a resignation yet, so that, we would need that first.
okay,
Mhm.
I'll let him know.
Okay.
The only thing, I would like to see, if we can get it, is a copy of, the dollars spent today by each department? You know, how they have the mass?
The budget report?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, could I get one of these?
you should be on the list.
I
think Jean and
haven't gotten
added
one
you.
for a
Oh, okay,
while.
well,
I'll forward it along. I have,
Yeah.
last week's.
yeah.
I'll send it in just 1 second to everybody.
That,
I hadn't gotten one for a while.
Okay.
that just, that kinda helps when you're
What's
doing
on
the
my
budget.
list?
Sure.
You know,
What?
to see
That was on my
where they
list of
are,
things to ask
Yep.
about.
how they're standing, you know,
Okay.
at this
Yeah.
point in
Sure.
in the year.
I can try to remember to maybe print it for your meetings as part of your packet, cause it comes out every other week.
Yeah.
So I can
That
try
would
to
be
print it
good.
for, cause we're meeting every other week now anyway,
Oh,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
how's that?
Good.
We're just gonna cut the forest down. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It'll be a deal on.
Before the bugs eat it, you might as well make paper out of it.
Might as well. Beavers will get it all.
Anything else?
Not much to Andrew has.
Just a few things I wanted to go over real quick. So you guys have the updated version of the budget summary.
Yep.
We received the governor's numbers today, as far as general government aid. It kind of came with some split results that I'd like to try to get some answers on, because they did hold up their end of the bargain by giving us a 3.5% increase in unrestricted government aid. But at the same time,
Yeah.
reduced our state-owned land reimbursement by almost 40%, which brought it from 100. But if you look at the state budget, they level funded it completely. From the state level, it was level funded. So I don't know if it was a miscalculation or something into ours.
Tell them that
So
we're gonna sell the land, we're not being
They
reimbursed.
just wanna know
I mean,
if
it's
we
$40,000 that puts us at a deficit from where we were last year. So I think we really need some clarification from the state to
Yeah.
know why they're proposing this reduction in state-owned land.
If they level funded, it would have been level funded at last year's rate.
Right, it should have been
Yeah.
101,000 at least.
Right, right.
And if they're taking up more of our tax revenue, which we were talking about, that they've actually taken more land, we should see an increase in that
Mhm.
overall.
Yeah.
So we have to try to get that hammered out with our legislatures, but hopefully, you know, that money comes back in, because as you can see in here, when I just plugged in the number under the cherry sheet net, and then included the charges. It would be a $24,000 deficit that we'd have to go and make additional cuts to. So hopefully we can get that squared away and look at an actual net positive, and add things into the budget rather than taking things away after they've increased the local aid. So we'll see. But then again, you know, we still don't know what the school number is or the. We did get some word back from insurance that they have kind of rates up all over the board right now, that they're looking at towns that are going from between a 0% increase to as high as 11. And they've already said that we're on the lower end. So I think that's pretty good news for us from the insurance standpoint, but until we actually get that number on paper, it's still just a guess.
Did they ever give you they used to, I believe, that they used to give us a list of things that we could work on to improve our insurance rate? I don't know if you've seen one.
Yes, so they were the participation credits.
Yes.
Yes, so we have been working with them on that. We've had them come out to a few department head meetings to discuss with department heads ways that they can improve our
Safety.
our credit points.
Right.
So we're trying to get as many as we can on that, hosting some trainings for credit. Also, when I was at the MMA conference, they had some trainings that if you attended, you got credit for. I
Right.
attended all those to
Yep.
get that credit. So.
Good, excellent.
Yeah, we've been trying to load up on those.
Yeah, it's a good benefit. It usually comes out to about a $5,000 reduction in there.
Yeah, a lot of them come webinars, so it's easy.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, you don't have to travel to them.
I see our snow and ice is already in the negative, huh?
So that's something you guys will have to look at,
Yeah.
or take a vote on that. Right now, we're already over,
It's in
that's
your
our
packet.
supplies account. but right on the edge in our overtime account, so we need some form of vote to authorize the deficit spending of our snow and ice.
The selectmen will also need to vote this. I was hoping Greg was gonna be here tonight, because we could have done it all tonight, but, so we'll have to do it, February fifth, I guess.
Whenever the next meeting we're all together.
I think that's February fifth. At this point.
Probably.
I think so.
Do you wanna put a number on that? Extend it to a certain figure, or how you wanna
Didn't we say-
put the recommendation on
Yeah.
that?
Didn't we say
Uh,
200,000 last year? Wasn't that, we did something around 200,000?
So I haven't really considered that, but did you want to do individual ones for both the,
Well, there's two,
Expense
right, there's
Yeah.
materials and labor, correct?
right? So the labor, we haven't gone over yet, but, I mean,
It's
we're
going to.
96% expended.
Right.
So, we're what, a month and a half into the snow season? We got another month and a half to go, so.
Good.
I would say on the snow removal, on the supply side, I'd recommend increasing that to 200,000. And on the overtime, increasing that to 50,000.
You say the 105 would go to 200.
Correct.
What's your recommendation? For materials?
So add
So-
95.
Highway snow removal,
Highway snow removal, it's currently authorized at 105, increase the authorization to 200.
So
So,
that's
I would
95.
prefer to go to 150 and then revisit. I wouldn't wanna jump to 200.
Okay.
That's my recommendation, we can always revisit,
Okay.
we did that last year.
Yeah,
I hadn't
I was
put a
thinking,
lot of thought into it, but
I'm
I'm
just
just basing off of,
participating,
yeah.
that's all I meant. I'm-
because you can,
Yeah. Yeah.
You can
so-
always increase
no,
it,
That's
yeah.
fine, 150 is fine. And,
So that's 45 more.
maybe 40,000 on the overtime. Is that 23,651 was the authorized.
What were your recommendations, Andrew? I'm sorry.
150, 40,
So the 23 would go to 40.
right.
So it's 150 additional
Right. No,
total?
100 and,
total.
total.
Is it 115 now?
Yeah, add 45,000
Right.
to the highway snow removal,
right,
and you think 40,000 is a good one for the overtime?
right.
The
That's on
labor?
top of 23,651,
Yeah.
so. Give you a chance to revisit it before it goes over again.
Maybe we won't have any more snow.
Never know.
Hopefully it'll
I
get
mean-
to through February, and then we can start.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not transferring any
No
funds
snow.
either, all we're
You don't
doing is
really know
authorizing
when it
deficit
was
spending.
Everybody stay home, we're not doing
It's
the roads
crazy.
this day.
If
Yeah.
if anybody doesn't have any questions, I'd make a motion to increase them. Richie?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Now, you're increasing it from 2,300 to what?
From 22,000 to
20.
4.
22?
23,651
Yeah.
to 40.
Right.
That's authorized deficit spending, and that
Mhm.
we'd be recouping that off free cash at the end of the fiscal year.
And then the 105 to 150.
On the snow removal
Yeah.
itself, yeah.
Any other discussion? In favor? All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
as an FYI too, we currently have, showing on our sheets, deficits in the town barn account and the police expense accounts. The town barn account, we're trying to get a handle as far as why that's already in a deficit out of the $18,000, to see whether or not that's just misposting of some accounts. Once we do that, we can come at the next meeting and maybe make some recommendations one way or another on that, or at least just a formal acknowledgement of where we are on that. Then the police expenditure account, I'll have the chief come in at the at the next meeting, or at least look over his account, see where we're at. I think that a lot of that has to do with turnover in his department and having to outfit new officers, because I know he had asked for that funding at town meeting because he was anticipating this, but we weren't sure what the full impact of it was going to be, so we deferred taking any action on it to annual. But if you want, we can have him come in at the next one and just authorize some sort of course going forward on that budget.
Would you expect, Andrew, that the schools at this time, is that their number?
So that was the next thing. So tomorrow, they are having their first budget meeting. It's an open meeting at Quabbin at 6:30, I believe.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, I looked it up earlier. It's 6:30 at Quabbin. So that's going to be I think their first real budget meeting. I don't know what they're planning on bringing forward at that point. I think it's just like a, hey, we got these are all of our wants type meeting. So.
But do they know the number from the state that they're going to receive?
Yes, so I actually printed that out before this meeting, and here it is. So they had about a $40,000 increase in their Chapter 70 aid, but a reduction of $100,000 in the regional school transportation. So, and that's been a big point of and that's been a big point of contention, because the state has recognized that this is not being funded adequately, and yet still is reduced. This governor still reduced it in his budget. So
it's not funded at the 100%
No.
that they said they were going to if you regionalize the school.
Right.
And it's never been.
Right.
But I mean, to take a hit like that is
right, yeah.
that's not acceptable.
Yeah, so that's definitely something else we'll have to communicate to our local legislation, that they try to fund at 100% in their budget. I can already see it as being one of those things that ends up being a turf war, at the State House.
Yeah, there will be.
Weren't they also, Andrew, looking into
Hit up and go.
adjusting that formula?
The formula grant for, or the
formula
for Chapter 70.
Yeah.
So that,
Had this problem,
I don't
Yeah,
think that
yeah, and
it's still one of those
time
things
was
that
like
they
to us,
love
and
to
it is,
look at kind of things, but they haven't really
Said,
taken any action as far as changing it. They've made a slight increase in the per pupil amount, which shows in the increase from 16.52 to 16.56, but
That's if you keep your.
right,
Because I think
your pupil base.
right.
the schools had some people going and actually almost like a lawsuit against them
Yes.
to have the legislatures change that formula, because they proved that the formula is not, accurate and stuff. So I don't know how long.
Right. Yeah,
You
that's
reach out to our legislatures, just maybe you
Yeah,
can
it's
put a bug in your ear and ask how that stands.
I'm gonna type out a big letter to Ann and Donnie, just as a kind of like where we stand as far as the State House budget proposal, and also some of our local needs that we'd hope that if they have a chance to address, as a earmark here and there, maybe they could find some way to fund it in the state budget, but just so they know where we stand as far as things. I'm gonna draft that letter by the end of this week and send it off to them.
I think that's probably a good idea to do something like that.
While Matt's here, I got a question, or maybe Andrew knows too. Have they reached a decision on that bridge yet, as far as paying us to get it prepared?
I think they haven't completely finished their review to say this is an acceptable plan.
Okay.
Right.
And once that happens, I think the funds are already there through either chapter 90 or our bridge articles.
Right, so
I'm not sure,
The,
I just think it's there, but.
the bridge article is actually gonna take care of the engineering cost aspect of it.
Was
The-
that about 40 grand?
It's about 40,000.
Yeah.
The repair is estimated right now at about 50,000, maybe just a little bit more, but that's gonna be out of chapter 90 funds, and we're just awaiting that chapter 85 approval from the state.
Good.
So, they came back with some preliminary comments, the engineer responded, so now we're waiting for their.
I mean, it's not like they're going to be doing it in the next 2 months, even if they get, I mean,
As soon as we get it, we're putting it out to bid,
yeah,
so.
well, yeah, but middle of February, it's gonna be hard to be working,
Yeah, yeah.
working down that hole.
Right.
Unless you get a nice warm spell.
Yeah.
Because even if it's a warm day, it's not necessarily a warm bridge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm sure some of the repairs, you don't wanna be doing it when everything is at its like coldest, thus tightest, shrunk, whatever.
Yeah,
And then deal with summer expansion and have everything on the bridge, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know the details of the scope, that's why I'm just saying, I agree with you.
that's why they have engineers, you know?
So anyway, on the school, the total receipt deficit, or the difference between FY18 and 19 is proposed, it's about a reduction of $185,000.
That they're getting cut from the state.
Hold on, actually, just, I'll just do that. 18026. Sorry, deal with me, it's been a long day.
Do you know
Sorry,
who's coming next week?
81,892. So it's a reduction in state aid to the co-oping schools by 81,000, by about almost $82,000.
Yeah.
Here, you want to?
Not a good start.
State aid goes down, cost to run the school goes up.
If you got the
So we'll
ones
have
that are
another
on
5 to
here,
6%
there's a
minimum.
lot of them
If
next
we're
week.
lucky, we'll be asking
Yeah,
for
but they're
14%
quick
again.
But I plan on going to that meeting tomorrow to
What was
basically state where
conservation
our,
finance meeting?
our position is on it, and that we can't afford to go any more than 2%, you know,
Yeah.
really over 2%, because one other thing I printed out for this meeting, and I think it's one of the last pages on here. I don't know if they put it on there. Do you?
That's
did-
in there.
It is?
Yeah, it's not yours.
I don't see.
Should be right underneath that one.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's right in the middle. So anyway, I included this property tax impact calculator. And that 195, 131, that is our full 2.5% tax levy increase, which is shown in this budget. So it shows that just by having to utilize that full 2.5%, we're increasing the single-family tax bill by $87. So the tax rate, you know, that is, you know, it's not set, it's just a guesstimate that's assuming that values stay completely flat, but just increasing that 2.5% has that impact on our residential rate. So yeah, it's just another thing to kind of, you know, arm ourselves if, you know, we're going to the schools and saying, we're asking for everything right now. You know, asking for the wants is not acceptable.
Right. The other thing is, in 2 years, they reevaluate properties in town, the assessors, from going around, taking pictures, you know, all that stuff. As long as I've been in town, I've never seen the value of my house go down. And that goes back to 1956, when we moved into that house, so,
I did, on mine,
really,
but it just went up this year.
well, you probably put the front steps on the house.
It went up this year.
They think it was finished now.
Finish the roof.
You know,
Thing we gotta look at, I
they've
think,
never come in.
No, no.
one of the things, we always seem to plug in a 2.5% increase, you know, for our budgets.
Yeah.
Yeah, automatic. And automatic is You see what the effect it's having on the taxpayers.
Yeah.
You know, it's going up and up and up. I think that the committee should look at not using 2.5%. You know, I don't think it's, you know, you get people that are on fixed incomes, and even people that are working, husbands and wives that are both working. You know, this is very difficult, and as Leap stated, if that goes through and if the property valuation goes up, you're
Yeah.
gonna look at a really
Yep.
big-time hit for our residents.
Well, you need to look at,
And the only way that you can solve that problem, as far as I can see, is stop spending.
Well, either that or have a bigger, better tax base with business,
yeah.
more business in that.
Yeah, well,
That's
new
what we
growth,
really
what's
correct,
not-
but you can't, that's like crystal ball.
Yeah.
We have no control over that.
you know,
Well, we need to have a committee that's really working on
What-
it.
You do have control over on how much
Yeah,
money
no,
is
no,
being
I
spent.
agree there.
Nobody wants to.
You know,
Can't
then
do
if you,
anything.
what-
then if you do, if you control the spending
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that we have control over, the Board of Selectmen, you know, it comes down to the townspeople vote and the Finance Committee recommendations. If you do come into a windfall of new businesses come in, then that opens up a different whole scenario where you can make increases or purchases or whatever.
Well, the other thing you have to look at is solar fields that have been going up.
Yeah.
They've got an estimated life of 20 years. That's what they figured they'll last. Some of them have been in the ground for 10 years. Now, that's not to say that they won't go in 10 years, you know, and replace the panels and all that stuff. But there's a fairly healthy chunk of change coming in from them. So you have to look at that as not a long-term viable source of income
Yeah,
for the town.
the biggest thing with that is that a lot of the solar fields that we have aren't based off pilot agreements, they're based off personal property tax.
Exactly.
And that is where we, you know, with that, well, looking at it that way, we get a lot of that money up front.
Right.
So within the first 5 years, we're basically taxing ourselves out. So that's where when you look at the new growth estimate, and it shows you that last year we were at $161,000. If we don't have any new solar fields coming online, our new growth isn't even gonna come close to that.
No.
So that's why our new growth is so, you know,
Volatile.
it's really volatile, and it's, you know, we really gotta look at it as far as saying how low is it really gonna go up next year. It's,
You know, the solar, there's a couple different scenarios too that are coming into play. One is, I do believe the town's enacted bylaws or whatever, putting the limits on people building new ones.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then, I do believe just recently the president put a tariff, a very stiff tariff, on the solar panels coming from China.
Yeah.
So that's going to, these solar people that are building all these solar fields now, that's gonna affect that dramatically. So if they have to purchase them from not China, they're gonna be a lot more expensive, so I think that will play into the solar is actually gonna start going back down the other way. Just my opinion, but the way they talk.
The other side of that, though, is it, you know, potentially increases, again, just the potential of manufacturing returning to some areas for
Yeah.
solar.
True.
Like some of the solar companies that the state supported manufacturing left within a year because they couldn't compete with the foreign market.
Yeah.
So, would it help? It wouldn't necessarily help this town. It might. Depends on, we have some properties where someone could put something like that in if they wanted, but again, it's how do you attract them and how do you make it, in their mind, a worthwhile place to come to invest? Which is something that I'm constantly reviewing of what can we do that doesn't take away from the identity of the town, but also increase our revenues, whether it's like what we're talking about with the whole medical marijuana facility. You get a host agreement. If that thing goes through as we wrote it, we get another $25,000 a year, not including the property tax, because they're not tax exempt under their, for the property,
Right.
for the real estate. They are still tax exempt on the sales of the but that's a different story. But I mean, those are things that I know we're trying. It looks like we're gonna have a new restaurant opening up down by Barre Food soon. That'll be another, as you said, little things. That's the best way we're gonna do it, is little things. And then look where we've got defunct properties and see what we can do to help them come back and become a useful part of the neighborhoods or the town. So we just gotta look at those options, and I am looking, just to,
Right, and,
you know, it's a challenge.
We did get a $20,000 community compact grant from the state to develop an economic development plan for the town. So we worked with CMRPC on that, and I'm just waiting for them to give me the scope of work before the state sends back the contract for it, so. It's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
Did you do anything about the,
No,
You know,
because
the
of
school.
that grant. About what?
the ones that came out to the school?
Oh, no, because the grant he's talking about,
Yeah,
it's basically a town marketing plan.
And then also, the town of Hardwick, they were the lead community on it, but it's actually through CMRPC. They were able to secure a $95,000 grant for a shared economic development planner to be shared between our town and 4 other towns. So we're hoping that person kind of takes a lot of these plans that have been put together and kind of puts them to work and
Yeah.
kind of really markets the area to try to get somebody to come in to do some sort of economic development in the areas.
One of the things the lady told me was you have to look at how your town is doing business to see of the way you're running your town right now. You may not really know how it affects the marketing plan, but you have a marketing plan. Unfortunately, it's under a bushel basket. So the idea was to study how the town is now running and see what does that encourage or discourage in terms of marketing. So that's what I'm hoping when we get this study, we look at it in that manner to see if there's some benefits that we have that we can take advantage of, or if there's some things we're not doing right, we need to change. It's kind of a mystery, you know.
I think we need to reach out to the department heads too, and when Andrew and the selectmen is to try to secure more of these grants. You know, if you don't submit for them, you're guaranteed you're not gonna get them.
Of course,
Yeah.
If you try,
You got a shot.
you got a shot, and some of these grants that you see are being awarded to area towns are very substantial amounts of money.
Yeah, the hardest part with grants is that they're one-time hits, so it's kind of like you get it, and then it's gone, you can't really put it into your operational budget,
No.
so.
Yeah, but on the plus side of it, you get a
Right.
grant for a fire truck for $575,000. Yeah, that's a one-time hit
And
where we
the,
got it, but guess what? That's
right.
money we didn't have to take out of
And
stabilization.
the chief has put in an AFG grant for $62,000 in supplies for the fire department, so that was just submitted yesterday. We'll see where it goes. I mean, they kind of roll those out all the way until the end of the calendar year.
So I notice on our budget sheets at the bottom, you have list any grants applied for. I haven't seen many grants applied for.
Right.
I think a lot of people use that as an explanation area, but.
Well, in your conference with them, you can mention to them.
Yeah,
I'd like to
yeah.
see some.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to add a little bit more to these. I have meetings scheduled with, first few meetings scheduled with department heads for next week,
Great.
individually one-on-one to talk about goals for next year.
You know, we don't expect, I don't think we expect every department head to be able to write a grant that's going to be a winning grant. But I think what would be nice is if they explored what was available to their different departments and said, hey,
Yeah,
this is coming up, I need some help to write it, you know?
Yeah.
It looks nice. We just got done with a $115,000 Green Communities grant that upgraded the lighting in every one of our buildings, which should save us $15,000 a year in energy savings. And we're already looking at, we're closing that grant out this week, so that way we can get our, basically right in the nick of time to apply for next year's grant funding to look at adding some charging, some electrical vehicle charging stations in the downtown area, encourage people to come drive downtown Barre, park their cars, charge them up, and shop in downtown. But also, we, I guess in the initial grant round for this building for the lighting upgrade had missed the wastewater treatment plant, so hopefully including that building, and then some weatherization upgrades to.
Question on lighting upgrade. How about the streetlights? What does it take to do that, to do LEDs?
So right now, there's a couple of options, because I just started talking with National Grid about
Really?
this, and it
Good.
had been looked at in the past. Because in the past, the only option that you really had was you had to purchase.
Pay 'em up
Yeah,
front.
you had to basically purchase out the street lights, enter into a contract with a private contractor who was going to replace and maintain those. They'd give you the grant for the whole thing, but then now it falls on the town to then operate and maintain those. So middle of the night.
So National Grid washes their hands of the headlight, the streetlights? They just,
So pretty much. So
Yeah.
middle of the night, car comes by, wipes out a utility pole. Rather than taking that light off and putting on the pole, they just take it off and put it next to the pole, and they call you up and say, "Here, schedule your contractor to come out and fix it."
but they can get a 10% increase on their rate.
But I think
That's
that
fine.
I think that they're getting some state incentives right now to actually do the replacement, but I was just waiting on some information back from National Grid. I was talking with their rep a few days ago. They're rolling out a new program, but I think it does involve some sort of local investment at the same time. It's just whether or not a Green Communities grant would cover that. I think that's are they willing to cover the expense for something that the town is not going to own at the end of the day? So I think that's gotta be the question.
But the thing is, town doesn't wanna own it and maintain it.
Right.
You don't have people, you don't have lift trucks, you don't have anything.
You
I
have
Right.
mean, that's
It's the
the worst
question-
thing to do is get it.
develop a light.
Right, but what they're saying is, a lot of these people, they're going into a contract with a private firm who's going to be responsible for doing this, but at the end of the day, you're transferring the liability from the utility to the town. So that's where it lies.
Yeah.
One thing I think we should do is, not through National Grid, because they don't want this, is we gotta work with Ann Goby and those that would work with the Department of Public Utilities, who manages this whole process. And the reason I'm bringing it up is the incentive program is usually designed to have somebody do something that isn't your standard in the industry. In other words, you're going beyond the norm. You're doing better than everybody else. So you'll upgrade ahead of everyone. But once LEDs are the standard in the market, it shouldn't be an incentive. It should be required that National Grid updates all of their lights to LED, or they no longer own the territory of central Massachusetts. In other words, the state said, it's on you, it's in your cost, you have maintenance anyway, you'll have less maintenance, the money balances out for you to do it because you have the personnel to do it.
You don't have to change
So I
out the
believe that is
bulbs.
the argument we're gonna start
Lots
working
of
on,
maintenance.
because it's, secondly, the whole buy the old light is a con. I've never understood how they won that argument. Buy the old light so you can throw it out, because they don't want it back.
No.
I wouldn't take.
And then you get to pay to have a new light installed, and then you own it from there on, and you still pay National Grid for the electricals.
Yeah.
Apparently at a lower rate, but I'm not sure that lower rate was actually
Julia
reviewed
was just
properly,
listening to
because
our
most
meetings.
of your electrical rate is based on
was?
the
Julia?
maintenance of the electrical system supplying it.
Do you want to come sit?
I think there's less maintenance, so it's part of the saying.
Andrew, has anything been done with Ann Goby on the Stetson, Seven Hills?
We were working on that today. I did reach out to Stetson. We had a preliminary date scheduled for next week to meet. But when I talked with Ann Goby's office and Donnie Bertham's office, neither of them can make that date. So now
Yeah.
we're trying to find a date that works best for them and then come back. So we're still
And
trying.
it's still gonna be like a private meeting
Yes,
rather than public?
yes.
That would be good.
They don't wanna be public, I
It's
guess.
the first step.
Yeah.
At certain stages, it needs to be private.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then take the first step to, gaining
It's
a,
also
gaining
somewhat
a
exaggerated
relationship.
as to the overall cost. Just some of the reporting on it from the people in town is wrong, like the helicopter thing. It didn't cost the town a penny. A lot of people are saying how much it cost the town. State police were doing
Yeah.
training that night anyway, and they called and asked if they could go do that as part of their training. So all this, it's blown up. You have to first find out what's really going on and what's really costing. And nobody knows that there's so much bull going on in this town. That's all I gotta say.
My concern, Mike, is ambulance calls, fire calls, police calls. You know, if they have a log, they must keep a log.
Already presented that data.
Yeah.
The regional dispatch keeps a lot, so we have records of every call.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think Andrew's already gotten that data.
And I already presented it out
Mhm.
too, so it was about, what, 17 ambulance calls.
Mm-hmm.
It was a total of 90 calls per service over a 1 calendar year, but broke down to, I think, 15, it was like 15 runaway calls, 15, actual.
Health, ambulance.
Yeah, actual calls, and then there was like 15 ambulance calls. It kind of broke down around those lines, so.
It's been highly exaggerated by certain people in this town.
But they
How many
still,
people do they-
Concern that I
how many
have heard
people
from
do they
some of the
employ?
abutters
How many people do they
was
employ?
when the kid
not
gets
all
out,
from there.
Well over
you're
100.
not contacting the local authority,
You know,
and
we
you
do
choose
it.
to walk
Lunch
through
is
their
here,
private
you
property
get
also
gas,
to
you-
go find them.
You know, so just cut it out.
And you
Just stop
just
it.
got random people walking through
hey,
your
if they
yard.
just chipped in 10,000 a year,
Don't
it's
go
in
walking
lieu
through
of
your yard.
taxes.
Yeah,
They're
no,
afraid of the
really.
woods, most of those kids, number one. Number two is they get on the road and try to get back to the cities from whence they came. They're not running through your
It's
backyard.
too dark out here.
It is.
If they come from the cities, it's
Yeah.
too dark out here. They don't like it
Absolutely.
here.
No, they're afraid
If
of
we
it.
had more streetlights, it wouldn't be as dark.
LED lights.
You know, that's a,
But they should give it in lieu of taxes.
if you
I
look
still
at,
think they should.
They're still the second largest employer in this town. So keep that in the back of your head too when you're thinking about it.
Yeah,
That's
well, yeah,
okay.
that's the other
I
side.
still think they
Exactly.
should give
Yeah.
something.
They do employ enough.
there's other
Even if it's
schools
10,000.
similar or whatever you wanna call it,
What does
institutions, whatever.
Insight get? 20,
And they pretty much have the same
25, I
issues.
think,
Exactly.
student
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not a town or
Still
a
think they
specific
should.
institution.
No,
It's the way.
nature of the beast, I guess,
It's the way
right?
the state has set it up. So you can't attack the institutions for doing nothing wrong. If you wanna change it, legislate it.
Yeah, well,
Don't go
that's,
after the institution.
that's why,
Even the communication
With the and
process is
go-
legislated. So, when they have something, they actually go to the state before they go to the local to say, we have someone, how should we react? And then they tell them whether they should call the state police or not the local police.
Really?
That's how it was presented to us in a letter from Stetson saying, the Department of Mental Health and the Department of Youth Services or whatever, those are the two that generally are the departments they work with, depending on the child or the person staying there. And if there's a runaway, they have certain steps. And then when it gets to a certain point where that runaway is out of eyesight or been gone long and they need to figure out how to bring him back, then they actually have to go to their, whether it's Department of Youth, Children and Families or Mental Health, they go there, they talk to their local whatever rep for this region, who then determines whether you contact the state police.
Yeah, it's a protocol.
So
It's a regulated business, like any other regulated business. It's nothing mysterious or off the wall. It's a regulated business.
Well, you see, the problem is, people don't know that.
Exactly.
You
There's
know,
too much
that.
bull
well,
going around
there's-
town from
Yeah,
groups
there's
of
a lot of
people.
speculation and
Right.
not enough information,
Yeah,
you know.
And
exactly.
I agree that we gotta fix the regulations, but at a minimum, they could just give us a heads up.
Yeah.
Hey, this is going on, we're not asking for help, we just want you to know what's going on. So if they get a call from an abutter saying, I see someone walking through my yard, then local regional dispatch knows, hey, it was reported someone, they might be able to go check, but if they're just talking to the state, nobody tells us locally, once again, the state is just ignoring the municipalities and saying, we can do everything from Boston with a phone call.
yeah.
And we have some of those issues. I think it's the same reason we have issues with like school budgeting. They're starting to try to take away the municipality in Massachusetts having much of a say anymore, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
Else on our agenda tonight, Ted?
What's that?
We have anything else on our agenda tonight?
No, not that I have.
Good. When's our next meeting?
February 7th.
February 7th.
It'll be a busier night that night, just so you all know.
What do you got up your sleeve?
Conservation, planning, zoning, youth commission, recreation commission, Southbury Common Committee. A lot of smaller, budgets, so it should go quick,
Yep.
so.
Would you put that on a website somehow so that people in the town would know who's gonna be here? Because I've had questions about,
The agenda shows that,
you know.
how else
On
do you
my
want me to
town
do it?
government.
Put it on a-
Do you guys want do you want me to Facebook post your meetings with the agenda on Facebook?
I don't do Facebook, so I don't
Yeah.
care.
I mean, I can if that's a
Yeah,
good source of.
well, a lot of the young,
Yeah.
A lot of people,
Because then they can get
Yeah,
it on our
they do.
website there.
That's where you
Okay.
get it.
7.
that's, Facebook is on that column right.
Yeah, yeah, and the meetings are on the left.
That's
so
the way
I
whichever
feel.
way they-
None of their business.
Something I'm on.
Okay, sure.
Like a little quick little
Yeah.
banner in the front that says this is
Stuff
going
people
on.
put on there, Kathy showed.
I have the whole budget
Yeah.
up.
yeah, but I
Did you want
learn a
people
lot
know
of
how
it.
that's
I
it?
get
I
a lot
would.
of
It's like going to
news.
see
Everybody
Judge
gets-
Judy.
I get a lot
Fake
of,
news.
They're looking through.
no,
Has
That's where
the,
you get your real news.
has the count
Oh, wait.
of that,
it's,
everything.
So we don't have anything else, we got our meeting set, so I'll make a
I don't know how
motion
much
to
you really wanna
adjourn.
wait
No one
through.
wants to.
Is there a second?
Word?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm learning a lot.
7:07.
Good
Look at that.